We are actually live on Facebook, a totally surprise Friday Night Live event. It's a takeover event. We're taking over the Facebook Power Pop Shop page. I'm DJ Gill, do the Power Pop Shop on WNUR. This is my sometimes co-host, Coffee Boy, special guest, DJ BK, right here. And we're very excited to do this behind the band interview since COVID is starting to get a little bit better here in the States anyways. I've been going back into the studio live lately to play. And so I wanted to do something cool each month, and once a month pick a band that is one of our coolest bands of the month, and it's part of our 5 coolest tracks of the month podcast we're going to be doing as well. And so we're picking a band to interview and get a little to know, and a band that we really dig their music and we play on the show a lot. So this is for Canada. This is Underwater Sunshine. You guys can clap for yourself.
I'll clap for the drummer. There we go.
All right. So we have clap for the Wolfman, and it will be awesome. So we have Johnny. I think he goes by Johnny Baker.
No one knows anymore, really.
Blair is a drummer. And it's Tim.
It's Timmy
so
Candlestick.
You guys are Underwater Sunshine. So Underwater Sunshine. Now you guys have quite a story because Johnny is going crazy right on Facebook or whatever he's doing, radio stuff, but for good reason. And you guys, to be honest, when he first wrote to me and he said, you know, we had this album 25 years ago and it hadn't been almost finished, but it wasn't, and we put it back together. I didn't know what to think. I didn't have super high hopes about him, being honest about it. I was like, you got music from 20 years ago and you just redid it. Listened to it, and I loved it because I'm a huge Posies fan, and you guys certainly are influenced, I would say, by the Posies. I think that's fair, right? And I love that album. And so I was totally digging. You guys tell me, it's an amazing story. How old were you guys when you were a band back in 1996, whenever this was happening?
Well, we were 17 when we started, but that was much earlier than this album was recorded. But I think by the time we recorded the album, we did the math, and I believe we were 20, 21 at most. Yeah. So yeah, 96, 97, we were recording the album, and we finished it up, I believe, 97, the recording anyway. We never got a chance to mix it all together, and we disbanded. I think it was Tim Blair, was it 97?
Yeah, it was the fall of 97 that we
went
different directions.
Right.
The fall, yeah, ominous. We'd spent it was over the course of a couple of years that we recorded all that music for Sucker Tree, I would say. And we, by the end of it, we had 16, 17 songs. And the timing was impeccable. So we had just finished recording, and we're like, okay, now we got to get this thing out, get it mixed and printed and get it out there. And suddenly I decided to go back to school, and something changed. It was just you know what, this has been fun, but it's time to move on to some different things. I remember having a lunch with Blair, I think, and just expressing, hey, I think I'm done for now. And then he was like, yeah, I think we're all kind of maybe done. So we had I remember that band meeting in your living room, Blair. No, you weren't at that lunch, no. But
no, I wasn't done.
You weren't done.
No.
Well, you aren't done. As it turns out, 25 years later, here we are. So we had an uncomfortable band meeting, but it was fairly amicable in the end. And I think you had some other prospects too, John, that if I remember you saying, some other interest areas. And And so we kind of disbanded. However, we did play at least 2 shows after that. In fact, the last show that we played was 1999
Yeah,
at the Starfish Room,
good show.
March 6th.
Okay.
And incidentally, while I'm talking about dates, the band that was a precursor to Underwater Sunshine was called Sly Dog. Blair wasn't a part of this band. And we are one day past the anniversary of our very first show ever in a nightclub. We were 15 years old.
Yeah.
And I had braces. And I remember the door guy saying, "Are you 19?" I'm like, "Yeah." I smiled with my my brace face.
Yeah.
So that was yesterday.
Wow.
30 years ago.
And I do recall,
Anyway, but
that was our first nightclub gig, downtown Vancouver. And as Tim said, 15 years old. Our parents came along just to make sure we weren't getting ourselves into some trouble. And as all bands do, they would get the little rider of beers and whatnot. So the promoter said, "What do you guys want to drink?" So the 3 of us, the drummer at the time, Steve, he was a year older, so he was cool enough. He wasn't with us, but it was Enzo, Tim, and I. We went up to the bar, and they asked us, "What do you want to drink?" And all 3 of us ordered peach coolers. Right after we played some AC/DC covers and rock and roll tunes.
yeah, like I was having these different thoughts about the future, and that came out. And when I mentioned that, I think, Blair, if I remember correctly, you're like, "Yeah, I'm kind of thinking the same thing."
Mm-hmm. Feeling the same
And
way.
then, well, Enzo's response in our band meeting, not that I remember it, but I can imagine what it was. "Yeah, okay, I'm done too." Yeah, sure.
I believe you.
It was really ridiculous timing. I mean,
Yeah, no
and
fight.
maybe that was the point. Maybe it was like, "Oh boy, if we release this, then this means like we're really committed to this this kind of life on the road for a while or something."
So, really, how did you like discover these lost, tapes? Like, I'm so excited, like that the Tragically Hip. Have you heard their new EP?
Oh yeah.
Their lost
Yeah.
songs that they redid. Because to me, those songs, most of them on that EP, actually hold up, to anything that they've done. And I'm a huge fan of the Hip. And so I just think it's so cool that you guys found these tapes. So I don't know if DJ BK has a question about that, but I just wanted to know like how that all happened. I sort of read it in the paper, the interview you showed me, but why you tell people this undiscovered, treasure, and all of a sudden you decided like, hey, maybe we can piece this back together.
Well, yeah,
I mean, you've had kids.
2 years ago, I'd gone through a major relationship change after 13 years. And I needed something to get me out of that headspace. And just started talking about, with my new relationship that I got into, I started talking with my girlfriend at the time that, I used to be in a band and had that, we came out with a CD and we were about to come out with another album. And I realized I didn't have a copy of our old CD from 1995. I didn't have really much to show other than a few photos. So to help kind of prove that actually happened, I thought, well, geez, guys, who's got the tapes? It might be possible to transfer that down into today's technology and see what we can do with it. And sure enough, it was a process, but once it got going, And actually, John Auer of the Posies started the mixing process. We ended up going with a local guy here, Evan Morgan, who did a great job at turning those old recordings into something that sounds very, very new. So that was it. That was basically it. It was as simple as that. Hey guys, where are the tapes? Got the tapes in a box. I think, Tim, you had them at your place, or? But they were.
Yeah, I knew where they were. They were buried under some of our old T-shirts. in a cardboard box in my workroom. And so even though I was kind of the instigator, maybe I think it's fair to say I was the instigator at our breakup. I often would think about those tapes and think, like, I'd love to hear that someday, and someday, and someday, and a year by year by year. And I remember at one point, Enzo, our bass player, we were talking, and he's like, "Hey, do you still have those tapes? Maybe I'm going to go rent an ADAT machine and see if we can do a rough mix." And this is like probably 15 years ago that we had that conversation, and then it never materialized. And of course, they're buried again.
Yeah.
But every so often, I'd think, wow, like there were some songs there that I'd really like to hear. And yeah, like the unveiling of those raw tracks was pretty powerful. It was exciting when those started surfacing and we could actually listen to them again.
Yeah,
Very cool.
We hadn't heard any of it in actual 25, 26 years. We had never really heard those tracks or the sounds or anything. The tapes were not played since 1997. So to get all that back, as Tim said, it was very powerful to get that going, and the motivation just went right there. It's like that. There were actually, I think, about 18 songs recorded, but or maybe 17 songs recorded, but we ended up only mixing how many are on Sucker Tree? 13 or 14?
Yeah, 13.
Yeah, and then we released Going On, and we're just now in the process of actually recording from scratch one of Tim's songs that never made it to those ADAT tapes. So, and that should be released, I don't want to say, but within maybe 3 weeks to a month. New tune. Old tune, new recording.
Yeah. Cool. No, they're great. DJ BK.
By the way, the sound is as fresh as it was recorded yesterday. It's a great, fantastic album. What I was wondering was, did you guys end up adding any new sound to it? Any overdubbing? Any, any guitar work, anything like that to give it, a new fresh sound?
Any vocal harmonies or anything?
We very sparsely, like what you're hearing essentially is what we recorded. There were a few songs where we added maybe a layer of guitar just to thicken up the sound in a chorus. And there was one half guitar solo that I added after the fact, because as we listened to it, we thought, no, something needs to go here. So there were a few little shifts here and there, but it's very, very subtle, and the bulk of everything was just as it was, which was remarkable too, because we really didn't need to change much. Like it somehow took to tape really nicely and took to digital extremely nicely. That was a big shock, actually, to hear how good it sounded.
And so Going On. So Going On is a new single, or was it an old? I know you released it as a single, but is that older track too?
Yeah, that song was from those same sessions.
It's Going On.
Yeah, it was from the exact same sessions in '97. It didn't make the album, the LP, but it was an afterthought. And I wasn't done. I spent a year having fun with these old tracks and mixing and whatnot. And, all of a sudden it was, when Sucker Tree came out, there was just nothing left to do other than promote on Instagram and Facebook. And I just wasn't done yet. And I realized, you know what, let's keep going. And sure enough, that's why we're now recording Tim's new song, Hypocrisy, and or old song, sorry, new recording. I just don't think, I don't know, I'm not done. Are you guys done?
I'll tell you after I go to the Cactus Club.
Don't say you're done right here live on this.
We're over.
We're going to break up for a second time on a live Facebook stream.
Yeah.
Did we get back together?
Yeah, you guys are getting a lot of pub from the first breakup. You could break up again and then pretend that you discover that, hide them somewhere, the new ones, and then discover them in a box somewhere, 10 years from now. We found these tapes. We're going to re-release them.